All right,
We'll
there.
be contacting you shortly to let you know if you've been cleared. Hey, why not go across the street or just across the lake to Redmond?
What's up?
No, I'm super frustrated.
Oh, that's okay.
In more ways than one.
I'm
So,
sorry.
yeah,
Blame
it's fine.
Skype. All right, well, here we go. We're gonna go on here.
Okay.
Oh crap! Where'd you guys go? What the heck happened?
You're still here.
You're gone, Will. Oh,
What the heck? Oh, I see what happened. That was my fault.
Will.
I know. Now I'm messing everything up.
I know.
Jeez. Hold on. Who is this?
Are you getting another call right now?
No, I am trying to figure out what the heck happened here. My whole screen got messed up if you look at the stream, but it's, let's see, screen region, there we go. I can fix it.
Can you pick the cameras? Like, so if you go into Skype, can you pick the camera that you're using and then use the other one for the stream?
No, so hold on, I just gotta redo the screen region. That's my bad. I selected the screen region, but then I accidentally moved Skype around some. I forgot that it's, with one person it works perfectly. With two people, it's a little bit wonky.
So I was listening to your stream. Like,
Yep.
I heard what you said through Skype, and then I heard what you said through this Twitch TV thing. And,
Yep.
yeah, it was a little bit weird.
All right, there's one screen region.
It was just enough off that like you would finish, and then then like Twitch TV would start with the sentence that you just said.
Well, that's the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to mess with you that way.
Do you have your Twitch TV muted, Tim?
I do.
Yeah.
I'm actually just gonna turn it off.
Where the heck did
Alright, I'm gonna grab a beer real quick.
you do that? We got wine, so
Alright.
I wish I had beer, actually. But I'm not allowed to keep anything other than wine in the house for the time being.
dude, I wish I totally had some Anchor Steam right now.
Oh, so the bar right down below where I work actually has Anchor Steam on draft.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's the one thing that I love about being in Seattle is Anchor Steam is, it's not like a foreign concept. Like,
Yeah.
I can walk into a bar and I'm just like, I'd kind of like some Anchor Steam. They're just kind of like, you know what? We have it on draft.
We can take care of you.
We got you. Or we have it in the bottle at least.
Yeah. See, that's. I have found there's 2 liquor stores here in Fernley that carry Anchor Steam now,
Oh,
so I no longer have to go to Reno. Do. I want to go to the Anchor Brewery. I want to take the tour.
I do.
I was planning on trying to sign up. I'm going to San Francisco here shortly, in August actually, and I was going to try to go, but I couldn't get in. They were already booked, which was a pain in the ass. All right, so we ready?
Yeah.
When are you gonna come up this way though, Will? Like, you have
Fuck,
other
dude.
friends?
I don't know, dude. Dude, my recent. I know I'm going to San Francisco, and then I know next June I'm going to the East Coast for one of our friends' weddings. Whoa, Amber, where'd your camera go?
Oh, which part of the East Coast?
Maryland, I think.
Oh,
Oh, you sound so disappointed.
I wish it was someplace cool.
Dang, you're hardcore.
No, I just like the East Coast.
All right,
Are we on?
we're on. We've been on. There's a splash screen again.
Alright.
And we're gonna get started now. Take 2. Getting started. I don't really have any of the music right now. Any like theme music or anything. We can kind of make the song up like yo graphic rap, something like that. I don't know.
I'll
Alright.
make something.
You should. You should totally make something.
I will.
All right, here we go.
Oh, your video, though. Oh.
Well, no, I'm here. Don't worry about my video. Don't worry. That's a backup webcam anyway. All right, everybody, here we go. We are back. We are, I guess, back. We're here again. Take 2 of getting started here on Yo Graphic Raps. This is the 3rd episode that we're attempting to put together here. And for the first time, we got everyone together. This is the group here. We have, go ahead and introduce yourselves quickly.
Okay, I'm Amber.
Pretty ladies first.
Yeah, Kirby Trump. That's it. I'm not a comic book master, but I'm a fan.
That's the way. That's all you got to be.
Yep.
And Tim?
Agreed. So my name's Tim. I'm actually, again, not a comic book master, but I'm definitely a huge fan.
Fucking A. That's the way you should be. I'm the hardcore comic book geek here.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. No, as you guys saw the picture of my desk, as Tim looked, I'm covered with the graphic novels now. So I'm Will. Go by generally the Amazombie, which is a term from my blogging on and podcasting on StarCraft 2. So it's just kind of the name that stuck with me on that. So this is Yo Graphic Raps. This is a quick little podcast that we do about basically just about comic news, but also we like to pick a book and reread it. Normally it's a book that's been out for a while, nothing brand new, and just kind of talk about what's made it great, why it's lasted, why it's still popular, why we love it. And we see it here. This is Too Cool to Be Forgotten by Alex Robinson, which we are going to be talking about this week. Which, all right, fine, here. There's mine too. Everyone's got their copy because it's fucking awesome. And Alex Robinson is an awesome guy, awesome cartoonist. This was his... we'll talk about that. We'll get into the book a little bit later. But there's been a couple of news stories coming out, mainly in the comics realm over the past few weeks since we've last been on to talk about it. Well, the Avengers came out. Anybody seen it? Who's seen it? Amber is by far the bigger comic book nerd right now, for she has seen the Avengers where Tim and I have not. That's right. I know, right? So tell us, give us the Amber rundown of the Avengers. Give us the recap.
It was so great. I have to be honest. I thought it was gonna suck. I did. I didn't think they could pull it off. How could they? They have like all these major characters: Iron Man, Thor. I mean, Thor wasn't even didn't quite. I don't know. I wasn't totally impressed by the Thor movie as I wanted to be. And then you have Hulk. I mean, fucking Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
They've tried twice to make a movie now.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
This is actually the 3rd different Hulk in the past 10 years.
Yep.
Yes.
3rd guy playing the Hulk, yeah.
And I really, I knew there was, some stuff going on with Edward Norton, not being able to play it because he, he had that thing, he wrote the script, right?
Yeah.
Really?
His movie, yeah, but then when it came to production time, they cut out his cut. They cut it out. He wanted to have a scene where he, took the gun and shot himself in the mouth, and then he turned into the Hulk instead of dying. They cut that out. So he got pissed and was, off the movie, basically, even though he was the first movie that they were originally going to make into the Avengers. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of skeptical, I was like, I don't know, can this guy pull it off? What's his face?
Joss Whedon?
Josh Whedon?
Wait, Josh Whedon.
Oh, the director? You're not talking about the director. You're talking about who's playing the Hulk.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're talking about Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
could Ruffalo pull it off? Could he pull off the Hulk? But it didn't even matter, man, because, alright, you guys care about spoilers?
I personally don't.
No, that's fine.
Alright, well, spoiler alert. The best, okay, there's 3 parts of the Avengers that just kicked ass. And by the way, I had to see it in 3D, which I'm not a fan of 3D.
Oh, man, really?
Will?
I'm too much of a traditionalist.
Yeah.
Right.
I can't.
You have to take what you can get.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I wanted to see the damn movie, so I went and saw it, and
Yep.
I didn't even care that it was in 3D. Hulk punches Thor. When they're fighting, he just, sucker punches him and, sends him flying. Hilarious. there's a scene where Iron Man and Thor and Captain America like beat the crap out of each other and like nobody wins.
Mm-hmm.
And then the best part of the whole thing is when you think that, you know, everything's gonna fall apart, nobody's gonna win. Hulk just picks up Loki and like tosses him around like a rag doll. It's, I mean, like, you know, honestly, the Hulk is why I wanted to see the movie.
So you're really a Hulk fan?
I'm a huge Hulk fan.
I
Yeah.
have faith in Josh Whedon.
See, Tim is the Joss Whedon guy.
So he's the director,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep. He gave us Buffy, which is great.
Okay.
Which I'm not a Buffy fan. I'm. It's one of those. You know, I'm a hardcore geek in so many ways, but there's a few of those geek things that I don't like, and one of them is Joss Whedon in general. I still want to see the Avengers. Don't get me wrong, because I'm not totally against his work. It's just most of his work is very bland to me, in general. But
He did a fabulous job.
yeah. So I don't know. You know, I'm at this point. I was supposed to go see it opening week with a couple of friends of mine, and then I couldn't quite make it that day. And since then, I've been really debating whether I want to pay for it to see it, just because of, as we spoke about last time, there's a lot of just issues with Marvel as a whole and their creator rights issues, and I don't know. There's that part of me that wants to see it really badly, but also just knows that I'll probably feel bad, you know, like if I do afterwards. I don't know.
Consumer guilt or what?
No, more of just the we were talking about the creators' rights before, and how the Avengers and a lot of the Avengers characters are some of those in question of creators' rights and the way they treated the creators back in the day. So it's just in the fact that they're making, you know, moolah hand over fist and giving very little love at all to the people who actually wrote and invented these characters, you know. And,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just I do want to see it, but I'm just torn, and I think I might wait. I might wait for it to come out on video. That's the way I saw. I did see Iron Man I saw Iron Man 2 in the theater, and Captain America in the theater. The other ones I've waited till video. So I might
highly recommend seeing the Avengers on a big screen.
Well, I might have to get around to it. It's having working full time with a son is not always the easiest to get to a movies. But yeah, I don't know. We'll get to it eventually. And any other comments on Avengers?
I'm probably trying to go see it when I'm in Pennsylvania next week.
Well, fucking A.
I'm gonna have some free time.
Is that the plan, Avengers? Ass-kicking Avengers?
At least one night.
Yeah. Have you now before we get off the top, have you seen all the movies leading up to?
So, I hit all the Iron Mans. I did not see Captain America.
Okay. Did you see Thor?
No, actually, I did not see.
So,
Thor yet.
and I'm a little bit on there. Just on those. The Iron Man movies were awesome. I give them that. The Hulk movie was pretty good. I'm not a huge Hulk fan though. So, but the Captain America movie I liked in premise. I think that it was poorly executed though.
When did Thor come out?
Thor came out like last year or a year and a half ago.
Yeah, like a year and a half.
Yeah.
Ago. Yeah, no.
And Thor, and I actually liked Thor quite a bit. There's issues with it, but I'm a huge Kenneth Branagh fan also, and he directed Thor. And Anthony Hopkins, I'm a huge Anthony Hopkins fan. I'll watch him in anything, you know.
Fair enough.
And I also, as a kid, I was a big Thor fan. You know, I liked Thor a lot. Spider-Man was my number one Marvel character, but Thor was like number 3 on the list. You know,
What was number 2 then? Like Spider-Man was number 1.
Spider-Man was number 1. X-Men was in between. I was an X-Men guy. Spider-Man first, X-Men, and then Thor.
Anyone in particular in the X-Men?
Not really. I liked the series as a whole. I loved Magneto. I loved the bad guys in
I don't think
X-Men.
that's too off topic.
Yeah, no, I loved Magneto and I loved Omega Red. I loved the bad guys in X-Men a lot. I thought they were by far some of the most interesting bad guys. So even growing up, I just thought that they were so kick-ass. Everyone else loved Wolverine, and I just never liked Wolverine because I always thought he was just so angry. I never got it. I'm like, why is he always so mad? Like,
That's why why you don't like Hulk. Man.
Yeah, exactly. He's just like a brute, you know?
Anger.
All right.
I'm into the anger.
So, the other big news coming out this week is the announcements from both Marvel and DC about their appeals to a gay audience, you might say. Marvel has announced that they will have a gay wedding, I think next week or in 2 weeks, one of their newest issues. And DC has said, the quote, an iconic DC character will come out as homosexual. First of all, why are they doing this? What do you think of it? And who do you think it's going to be?
I think it's all marketing. Like, so first off, I'm totally for gay rights and gay marriage and stuff like that. But I think at this point, because with the way that a lot of political stuff is heading, like I think gay marriage and gay rights is something that's very much so talked about, and I think it's a way for them to do a lot of marketing around it as well too. I don't think they're actually.
You don't think that they're not out to
helping the cause?
Yeah, they're not actually there to forward the
I
cause.
think they're just trying to make money off of it, really. Like,
basically, they saw what happened. Excuse me, sorry, hold on. I'm getting a lot of sound.
So now that Obama has come out and said, "Hey, like gay marriage is not a bad thing,"
yeah,
I think they're just trying to make a little bit of money off of that.
Well,
We'll get on this bandwagon.
Well,
too. Like,
so but see, they're not the first. So the big deal was last year. Archie had a gay character and then a gay wedding, and that was the big deal at first. So are they just kind of jumping on the bandwagon, you think, or?
So my question to that is Archie still relevant, or is like X-Men and a lot of the Spider-Man still kind of the Archie of this generation?
In a lot of ways, I don't think Archie is still relevant, but on another hand, they forced themselves to be. They've especially in the past few years been doing a lot of things to get a lot of attention.
Because they've been around for so long, and they're not really relevant. Mm-hmm. They need to pick up readership.
Well, I mean, is it that, or is it that they're in a place where they know that they can finally do what they want because they're not relevant? You know what I mean? Like, maybe they can actually speak their mind and say or speak about a political or social issue the way they actually want to without fear.
So I think a lot of companies start off that way, and they speak about a lot of political issues because they're really kind of small. I don't think like Archie's a well-established brand, right? So you're talking about brands at that point. That's a very well-established brand. I don't think they're going to make that plunge unless they're just kind of like they're trying to gain folks back.
Could be. What do you think, Amber?
Well, first off, I mean, like, is it common for them to have marriages in comic books? I mean, just in general. In
long series, there's always been a few big ones here and there. I wouldn't say it's uncommon, but it's not definitely not like an every year thing. But I mean, like, of course, in the 80s, the big one was Spider-Man getting married to Mary Jane. In the 90s, it was Cyclops and Jean Grey was one of the big ones.
So Jean Grey is awesome.
Oh yeah, Jean Grey is awesome, right? I mean, and so I don't know. I mean, I'm totally for it. I got no problem with it.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with it.
No.
It at all. I think it's cool. It's saying that on what is this ICV2?
Yep.
That North Star.
And Kyle
are
that's right.
not, and it's number 51. I think it's cool. And then there's also this thing where like there's this group, the New Moms.
Oh, are you talking about the Million Moms or whatever?
Yes.
Oh God, those.
Attack, right?
Yeah, I don't get me. I don't necessarily want to get started on that group.
All right.
I don't even know what that is. But...
They're a hardcore conservative like social issues group that speaks out, about how any thing progressive is destroying the fabric of humanity, basically.
But it's perfect. I mean, this fits in right. I mean, okay. Let me figure out how to say this without it sounding weird. Yeah, I'm totally like for like I don't even know why it has to be such a big controversy. Sexuality is just natural, you know. It's just natural. That's how I feel. Like if you like someone of the same sex, fine, whatever. Who cares, you know?
Yep.
But so like, you know, but I mean, it fits into the X-Men like storyline perfectly. I mean, here you have. I mean, it's something that I probably, if you were a reader and you were homosexual, you might be inclined to like reading X-Men because their plight is so much like your own.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, mutants, you know, something out of the norm.
Do you think that an iconic DC hero or North Star or whoever that actually, do you think that younger gay readers maybe do relate to that, or do you think that it's too far out for them?
Why? No, I don't think it's too far out for them at all. I mean, I think that it's about time. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, like, you know, homosexuality is not such a, you know, I mean, there's still idiots that are completely against it.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, our president had the balls to like openly accept it, and he's not that courageous. So I mean, you know, I mean, like,
There are folks in certain parts of the country that are very opinionated, and they generally have an opposite opinion of I think what all three of us feel.
Mm-hmm.
of course.
Yeah, I just spent like the last couple of years in the Midwest, and it was like, you know, anti-abortion signs and Jesus loves you signs, and it was like, But I think it's really starting with television as well too, right? So you have a lot of like Will and Grace and stuff like that.
The
Like,
big one now is of course Glee, and
yeah. So the big one's Glee, like, and so you have Neil Patrick Harris, which
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely love, and he's, you know, plays the gay, you know, the straightest gay person is possible.
Yeah.
And I think eventually it's going to become very like commonplace, like that. Hey, like, this is actually a sexual orientation that is acceptable, like,
Mm-hmm.
just like, you know, anything else. And I think comic books are just starting to kind of get to that point where it's like, okay, let's, you know,
Art-
we have
it's
like,
art
we
reflecting
have-
life.
Yeah, I mean, we like Glee, and it's starting to kind of become mainstream. That's okay, you know, to go ahead and put out there in like the mainstream public.
So I just want to say that when I was a kid, I always thought North Star was gay anyway. That's just my opinion. Just
So my first thought there was Batman, but I was like, you know, Bruce Wayne was a playboy.
okay, yeah. So
Totally
the DC, they said iconic DC character.
And I think Batman. Like, I
So-
totally think Batman.
The big joke is of course all of the if you've ever looked up I believe the website was Super Dickory, where they used to take panels out of old comic books and write like funny, ridiculous panels, and they always found all the weird, of course, the Batman, the inherent
Yep.
sexuality between Batman and Robin, of course, right? Which is hilarious.
From like the 70s.
Yeah, and even before. I mean, as far back as the original 40s, you know, and I doubt it. It's not going to be Batman. I mean, I am almost sure, but it would be
Bruce Wayne is a
hilarious
playboy.
if it was.
No, Bruce Wayne is a playboy. There's no changing that.
But
I can't. No, I don't want that to be.
so one of the other rumors, the big thoughts is Wonder Woman.
Ooh, yeah, that would be great.
Because one, I mean, she's a big. Are you okay there? You getting a little hot there? getting a little stirred up by that thought. So,
Because she's so freaking awesome and strong.
so she's a badass woman, right? But there's also that, you know, she comes from the Amazon women group, right? And so that is a definite possibility. Although I don't know if they would actually buy into that, or not buy into that, but I mean, I don't know if DC would actually do that for the level of. It would be way too easy to attack it as sexist, you know, that it's the woman, and the guys running DC that want to see it as, some kind of lesbian erotica or something.
Well, I mean, jeez. I mean, I can see why Marvel would go with a guy because, like already like the whole like cheesecake thing is a turn off to a lot of like female readerships anyway. But I think that it would be the opposite of that. I think that if Wonder Woman was to come out, I think that it would be exciting to female readerships because because you know she's dominant. You know? And
she's an aggressive female character, which there aren't enough of, right? In general,
how many female characters are there though? Like, not many.
Not many that are worth even talking about most of the time. Yeah.
Like, so when you say like dominant female, it's just like, but there aren't really that many. Like, the pool is very small for even just female characters in general.
Yeah. But I mean, at the same time, that's
Marvel, really, right?
What's that?
There's a lot more in Marvel than there are in.
Yeah, I think so. I really don't read much DC comics anymore. I was never that big of a DC reader. My initial thought when I heard it was Aquaman. Is he not like the perfect DC gay character? I think that was my initial thought, but actually Wonder Woman does make a lot of sense, and she is one of the big icons, you know, the big three, of DC. So I don't know. Well, I mean, literally, I'm sure next time we meet, that's what we're going to be talking about. So that's we'll have to see how that goes. I don't know.
It could always be Batwoman. Actually, have you guys been reading the new Batwoman?
Mm-mm.
Oh,
is she really iconic though?
Huh?
Is she really iconic?
Yeah,
though?
see, that's the thing is that DC has
like
said it's an
Superman,
iconic DC character.
Batman,
Green Lantern. You know, like there's only a handful that you would consider like the iconic DC characters.
Well, Batwoman is listed as number 8 of the top 10 DC comic book heroes on Comic Vine.
Wow. Huh. I wouldn't have actually thought that. That's interesting.
Cassandra Cain is number 1. She is... Who is Cassandra Cain? I'm not really familiar. Oh, she's also a Bat woman. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well...
See, I think it would be Batwoman because if you follow it, she's kind of like got this thing going on with... Or maybe it's... Okay, sorry.
No, you're fine.
We'll find out. We'll find out soon enough.
All right. One last little thing that I want to talk about, which I didn't bring up to you guys yet, so you guys don't know this yet. It's mainly just for my own ranting. I'm going to be ranting for a second here. I went out I went out to a comic shop last week, and I picked up a book. And I am severely upset by this book. I picked up this book. This is 100 Sexiest Women in Comics. All right? By the Comic Buyer's Guide.
Looking great, though.
Right, okay, so it's got Red Sonja on the cover. Okay, that's totally fine. But my initial thought, I saw this and I thought, oh, this came out last year, like 6 months ago. And I thought, oh, I wonder who my personal pick of sexiest woman comic character where she would land in this book. So I buy the book. And she's not even in here. And I was pissed. I wrote them and told them that I was pissed that they left her out.
Yeah. That's not what I'm curious about. I'm curious about who.
Brandy from Liberty Meadows. Brandy Carter. If you've never read Liberty Meadows, Brandy... Here, I'm going to throw this up on the stream. You guys are just going to get this. Or you guys can look at the stream here.
Have you... So, what about Kachu?
Kachu is in there.
Oh!
No joke, Kachu is in there. And I was like, even indies like Kachu are in there. How?
Well, so Terry Moore is kind of getting a little bit... It's kind of mainstream now.
I mean, let me find where's like the sexiest brand. I have a whole series of Brandy pictures. Here's one. Okay.
What number is she?
She's not even in here. Who, Kachu?
No, Kachu. I don't care about Brandy.
Oh, well, fucking hold on. I'll have to look it up. So, up on the stream, that is Brandy, and I love my Brandy. And she's just like the nicest, sweetest character.
Is she a lot like Francine? Like very hometown, like girl next door?
Yeah, yeah.
So, what is it about Brandy that really kind of draws you to her? Like, you obviously have a fascination.
Because one, I love her character in the storyline, in the Liberty Meadows storyline, because she's a very, very sexy woman, but not like I mean, I guess unrealistic in the sense of her,
She's
of
not cheesecake. She's got a body. She's got thighs.
she's got curves, and that's what I like.
So,
But also,
Francine out of Strangers in Paradise, she had very defined curves.
but what I like is that she has that love for the geek in the storyline. The veterinarian of the animal hospital they work there, the place, and she was so nice and timid, and their whole relationship is brilliant, and then she's sexy on top of it, right? So that's why I love her. So I was so upset because there's women in here that are not nearly as sexy as her. I'm sorry. Francine, by the way, is number 86 on the list, right? You can't really see it, but she's right there.
Kachu and Francine are in the book.
There's a yes. And even like Josie from Josie and the Pussycats, of course, right?
No.
What? You got to probably Ramona Flowers, of course. Ramona is sexy as hell, right? There's Kachu too, right there on the page, right?
What number?
In 69. What better number, right?
So where's the Mel version of this book?
I don't know. You better write them and tell them to make one.
Well, so I don't.
Jocka from Cerebus, my Cerebus comics, Dave Sims Jocka's in there, and I'm like, what is this? Like, and even like the chicks from Love and Rockets are in here. Yeah, Hopi Glass, and I'm like, all these cool indie chicks, but not Liberty, not Brandy. I was pissed. So that's my rant.
That's two.
Well, you know what? I would say a while ago, I would say, like, I totally can't relate to anything you're talking about, because I wouldn't be like, oh, well, I've got a crush on any sort of animated character. But let me tell you what. I've been playing Mass Effect.
Uh-oh.
With a vengeance since I finished my thesis. I've just been like, I finished Mass Effect 2, and then I started playing Mass Effect 3 also I could find out what happens to my Thane. My Thane Krios Adrel. Are you guys familiar with Mass Effect?
No, see, I'm familiar with it, but I've never played them.
Yeah, so I've never played it,
But see, on the same note, I'm a StarCraft player, so of course Kerrigan, my Sarah Kerrigan is like, I'm in love with her, right? Like, that's just all there is to it. I understand. It happens. It happens.
Yeah, and I had no idea until I started, like, getting on the feeds online and, like, finding out that, like, not only was everyone pissed off about the ending, which I haven't played yet, but that, like, there is a huge fan base for, like, the love of these male characters in Mass Effect. Like, they put the head on a man's body.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
have, like, these pin-up shots, and I'm just like, what?
Oh, no, you should see. You should see the StarCraft threads. we know.
There's a subculture for this.
Oh
thing,
yeah,
huh?
oh yeah.
Yep.
No, definitely.
Wish I had time for video games at this point.
Well, that's all right. It happens. At least you got time
So
to.
I saw Diablo 3. Like, Diablo 3 came out, and I was like, I want to buy that. I want to play that.
So, I'm not a Diablo fan. I was never that into the first two, but
They were amazing. They're almost like Fallout.
oh, so I'm being told the word I'm hearing because being in the StarCraft community, of course, Diablo 3 is one of the other big titles of Blizzard.
It's made by Blizzard.
Yeah, so there's a big Diablo section on a lot of the StarCraft stuff, and what I'm hearing is that there's some people disappointed by it. There's other people that absolutely love it, so it's very mixed reviews. But again, these are all reviews pretty much from the hardcore fans, so they might be disappointed because they built it up in their mind so great, that maybe maybe
fans that are like 30 now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's been so long.
So the point is though that they might have expected something different and aren't looking at the game for what it is.
Yeah.
Which is what happened a lot with StarCraft 2. Like, a lot of the Brood War fans didn't like it as much because they had built up the greatness of Brood War for 10 years, and then it was just something different, but it's good. It's just they're not looking at it for what it is. They're looking at it as not Brood War,
Diablo is hella old. I think I remember playing that on my PC, like, with Baldur's Gate. Like,
in like 98?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
No, I remember the big battles between me and my buddies because my buddy was a Diablo player and I was a StarCraft player back in like '98.
Oh, so
and
it's a lot like Fallout. Like,
yeah.
so when Fallout New Vegas came out, like, It's completely different, and that's my understanding of the game. Is it's not like Diablo 1 and Diablo 2. It's a little bit different.
So
The whole reason I even started playing video games really was because of Fallout. My cousin Nick worked on the original one.
oh yeah,
And, yeah, and
I am a huge Fallout geek.
yeah,
At
me
least
too.
Fallout 1 and Fallout 2.
you'll have to hook him up, Amber, with some like a signed book or something.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna sign your number one. Whatever. Yeah. But yeah, I got an Xbox just so I could play Fallout, but I never played. I never played the one he worked on. I just played Fallout 3 and then New Vegas, and then all like the downloadable content.
But so which one did he work on? Like Fallout 1 or Fallout 2?
He worked on Fallout 1 and Fallout 2.
Amazing games. Like they are the best in the entire genre.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they're totally old like PC games. I actually probably have the disc somewhere around here. I probably have the games still if you have a Mac.
Yeah, I do have a Mac.
Yeah, that's unfortunately that's my biggest problem with Mac is I cannot play Fallout.
Yeah.
That's what you get.
All right.
I am dedicated to figuring out how to really play Fallout on the Mac.
Have you tried any of the emulators or the?
Yeah, it means I have to run on Windows.
Can you play it on Steam?
You might be able to play it on Steam.
Yeah, you might be able. That's an idea.
I have to go dig into that actually.
I've never actually used Steam. It's there. I've just never actually used it myself. So.
I used it for my crush on Gordon Freeman.
All right, so let's move on here. Now that we've gone way off topic with video games, but that's totally cool. It happens. Our book of the week, of course, Too Cool to Be Forgotten by the great Alex Robinson. This is a Eisner Award-winning book, and I remember when it came out, I remember just being intrigued by the cover, being a smoker, of course, at the time. I'm no longer, but I was...
Oh, you quit?
Yes.
Ooh.
So, I haven't had a cigarette since February, so... So, I was intrigued by the cover because it was comic books. It had a cigarette reference, right? And then Alex Robinson I'd heard of. I'd never actually read his stuff. Since reading this, I've gone back and read pretty much all his stuff. I have them all up here. Like, he's an outstanding cartoonist. This is by far, I think, his ultimate work, though. I mean, his big book from back in the day was a book called Box Office Poison. That was an excellent book, but I didn't care for it on the level that I cared for this. I've read this about 5 times since I bought it, and I love reading. It's a pleasure every time. And I still actually get a little teary when I read it, because this is amazing.
I did too.
So, this is like a book you'd give to like a psychology major.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of say, what do you think?
Yep. So initial impressions, what do we got?
Well, I really liked it. I teared up too. Totally love the cigarette reference box, and you know, I was kind of wondering that there had to be. I was like, there's got to be more. You know, we can't just rewrite his history. The whole going back to a critical moment in your life in high school. That is something I have thought about over and over and over again. I'm sure we all have.
Yep.
If I could just go back to this one moment, what could I do? How could I change my life? You know, knowing what I know now.
And that's part of what I think why the book was so good. It speaks to people in high school who are going through that time, but it also speaks to us older that, you know, we think back to. I found it interesting because the plot, you know, of course, the guy going back, hypnotism to quit smoking, right? And I found it almost quaint, almost comic in its simplicity, right? And then when as it progresses, it becomes more and more complex, right? Not only in the cartooning itself, but in the storyline, in the plot, and till you get to the end, which is the tearing up part, right? That hits you so hard because of almost the level of kind of fun and lightheartedness before it. And I don't know, it's a little, you know, it hits that personal chord.
I think a lot of the reason why it hits that personal chord, though, is you don't find out what's wrong with the dad, right? So throughout the entire book, you see references. It's like, oh, but you're like your dad. I know what's going on with your family, and it's
Yeah,
just like,
the family troubles.
like there's a little bit of mystery, and it's like, are they getting a divorce, or is the dad like leaving, or like what's going on? And then you find out. I mean, obviously, you find out. My first impression, though, was actually Dwight from The Office, which sounds kind of weird, but I like flipped through the book and I saw the picture in the back, and I was like, that totally looks like Dwight.
I hadn't even thought of that.
I don't know why, but I thought of Dwight from The Office the entire time I was reading it. Because that's what he looks like in the back.
Yeah. It's funny because that's just that's like a picture of him in high school that they put in there.
Yeah.
Which is so funny.
Which, I mean, yeah.
So, what did it... I guess what I'm trying to get to is why did it affect you?
Well, I mean, like you said about leading you into the mystery, you know, you just, like, his character discounts what's happening with his father. He doesn't really talk about it. He's got all this other social stuff going on, and we do that a lot in our lives, especially, like, when we were younger and we didn't understand, like, the heavy consequence of the things that happen when we're young and the weight that it'll play on our lives as we grow older. And his first time around, he obviously didn't even, you know, he didn't connect the fact that he probably continued to smoke to deal with, you know, as in part of, like, how his life dealt with the loss of his father. He was ignoring it the first time around, it seemed, and then the next time around, he kind of was going into the same path, but then that became the turning point. That became what he had to unlock to quit smoking.
Yep.
He had to revisit this very pivotal point in his life that would affect him forever.
Which is what I find very interesting is the fact that, you know, the simple answer, him going back to not have his first cigarette, right, was not the key. It was not only just the key to his smoking, but the key to him mentally, you know, in a way. And
but it was a little bit more than that, though. Like, it wasn't just like by the time he got done with the first cigarette, like he wasn't done yet.
No, and that's what I'm speaking. That's what I'm talking about. Is what Kirbytron brought up was that fact that even though he didn't have a first cigarette, that wasn't the end of the story, right? That wasn't what has led him to continue having issues with smoking or problems in his life afterwards. And he didn't realize that in the slightest bit, even going through it a second time. And that's what's kind of funny to me, is to think about it in the sense of, even if we're given another chance, even as we look back in hindsight, we still might miss what actually is there, or what actually is problematic. It took him a couple tries. And and of course, you know, as a fan, you're reading through and you're wondering what's going on with his family, right? Because they keep referencing it. The school, his teachers, his principal, that he's having family troubles. But at that time, when you're a kid, when you're in high school, fuck your family, right? Like,
well,
I mean,
yeah.
For a lot of people, like,
yep.
you're too self-centered. You're too into your life. You think high school's real when it's obviously not, right? Like, it's obviously like just a completely not real. It's just this weird time in your life that doesn't exist afterwards, right? Like, nowhere else should life be high school afterwards. But it's I don't know. It hit me personally on the level of my father and I were never particularly close. I like my father. He's, you know, we get along, but he wasn't really there for those general. He wasn't like that, you know, that TV father, right? Like, so there's that part of me that when I read it the first time thought, like, you know, if I had that chance to go back, what would I say to him? And these are things like the fears that he expressed about his father are the same things that I would probably be upset about. You know, I mean, nowadays I'm not really upset about it, but I do think that there could have been more there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I was really close to my younger brother,
Hmm.
and I lost him maybe I was 19. So
Yeah,
right
so
after
it was in 2002 or so, wasn't it?
2001, yeah.
2001, yeah. I
Yeah, and
remember.
yeah, and
We've
there
known
was
each other a long time, remember?
I know. It's been such a long time, you know, and like I mean, I can talk about it now with there being so much distance, but like I I thought about all the things I could have done and the things I could have if I would have gone back to this moment or that
Hmm.
moment or this moment and how I could have like changed the course and the path and everything if I would have just said this or done that. And what I liked about the way Alex wrote this is something that I found after like 11 plus years thinking about how I would have changed the course of time.
Hmm.
He didn't change the course of time in
No.
his life.
Nope.
He just talked to his dad,
Yep.
you know, which this book could have taken, you know, many different paths. It could have been sci-fi and he could have actually have time traveled, or you could look at this as this time travel he just did mentally, and then him talking to his dad was all just a perceptional thing, you know, happening in his mind, and that sealed some closure. But either way, like the way he took it, he didn't change anything because, you know, I don't know, one thing I've kind of gathered from all my wishes and time traveling um, is like, you know, I'm happy with the course my life took,
Hmm.
and if all those things didn't happen, I wouldn't be the person that I am.
Yep. But and then all he needed to essentially heal himself was to open up that channel of communication to himself. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? He didn't actually have to change his life. He just had to and accept the fact that essentially he was angry at his father for dying, right? Or for being sick. He was angry and he never got a chance to express that. And he never got that chance to feel like his father had any understanding of him essentially, right? And that's all it really took in the end was to make him feel I mean, you get the impression, and that's something I like about the book is after that moment, that climax, there's like 3 pages and it's over, right? Like it because it drains you so hard, and you don't need the falling action. You just see him wake up basically and be happy and know that everything's going to be okay. Right.
Well, I mean, he knew it was over.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he was necessarily happy.
Well, he seemed to be happier. He had like a smile on his face, I think. If
I mean, he was just like, it's over.
yeah,
We're done.
he understood that it was behind these points were behind him, you know,
Yeah.
and I liked that ending, that very understated, that very it just to me I remember reading it and just being like like, and it's almost as if it's over for you in the book, you know, and it's really really powerful. The way it was written, not only the storyline itself, which is what we've mainly been talking about, but the cartooning, the way that Alex drew it, which is a departure from if you know any of his older works. I mean, in the sense of they're similar, kind of just the way he draws people and stuff, but the way I just keep using the word, the way he cartoons it, the way he fits words, the way he fits pages together is more advanced. You can definitely see an advancement there, which is really really amazing. And I don't know, to me it was very simple and elegant in its simplicity as in almost anyone could pick this book off the shelf and read it, right? Like, because of the cartooning's very simple and understandable. But yet has those hints of complexity, those elements that separates this book from something like reading an X-Men comic or a
yeah.
Batman comic,
I'm
right?
a huge fan of the like, well, more cartoon characters with
Hmm.
like serious serious writing.
Mhm.
Like, you guys ever read Optic Nerve?
No.
Oh, well, it's Adrian Tomei, I think. Tomei, I don't know. Anyway, he does a lot of like little vignettes, like little short stories, and it follows like different characters, and they're always like really serious social content. But the cartooning is it's a lot like Alex's work. It's
Yeah.
just very simple and very bubbly and black and white. And,
Which is interesting in the sense of something I was talking with Tim before we started the show was I've been reading this Understanding Comics by Scott McCloud, and he talks about the use of cartoons to reach to greater audiences, and how the more photorealistic the cartoon is, the less you connect to it, and the more it feels like a photo, right? Where the more cartoony, the more simplistic a face is, an icon of a face, it could be anyone, right? So if you look at a really a more detailed and advanced picture of a kid, and then a stick figure of a kid, in some ways we relate to that stick figure better because we can see us in him in a way, which is what he's speaking of. And that's what I find just really great about Alex's work is his people are just detailed enough to be interesting, but not detailed so much that you can't relate to them, I guess. They are very realistic in a way. If that makes sense, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking about like when you write from a child's perspective, because that's kind of largely what I was like doing my thesis on, is writing these coming of age reading these coming of age stories that are from child's perspective, and why do we choose a child's perspective? And it's because you can tell these greater, like these deeper stories without it being like cliche, and with it touching you, the reader, in a way that if you were just telling it like Dostoevsky, you couldn't really reach as many people.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
No. That's almost a perfect analogy, actually, in the sense of the more advanced that it is, right? The less directly connected, you can almost say. With the childlike wonder, with that cartoon iconography, with it's so open to be anything, you know, and therefore we get to fill in the holes. We get to create what it is at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
also
the
goes along with like Hemingway's iceberg theory. You only write the tip, and you let the rest, you let the readers fill in the rest.
Yep, and which is perfect for speaking of comic books and cartoons is so much of what makes them great is that nothingness, right? The blank spaces, what's between the lines, right? Where are the breaks in the pictures, what are the pacing, because those all dictate different things, you know, or you can use them to dictate different things. And that's what I find so interesting about the comic art form as a whole. And I think Alex Robinson, while not 100% perfect in this book, I would say is way better than most cartoonists on that pacing aspect, using the panels to really create an interesting sense, I guess.
All right.
Does that make sense? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just like looking at his pacing again.
I mean, for me. I've spoken before. I'm a big fan of Dave Sim and Cerebus, and Dave Sim was famous for pushing the cartoon boundaries in that way, using the negative space, using the bars to help tell the story, to set different pacings and time. And to me, he's like the master of it. Like, no one has done more out there and more perfect, but Alex gets pretty close in some parts of this book that I just really, really connected to on a cartooning level, you know?
Did he really pioneered it, though? Like,
you can
I don't know if he'd really pioneered it, though.
Well, you can't say... you can't really say pioneer, but when I'm speaking of Dave Sim, he was the first one who he really made it work even on a more extreme scale than it had really been done. And that was, it was different than reading. If you go back and you read old comics from the 50s, 60s, 70s, some Steve Ditko or Jack Kirby, or there's hints of it there, here and there, but I mean, what I want to say is used through Cerebus, Dave Sim had really pushed those boundaries even farther than people thought were possible in the art form. There were a few others here and there, but he made it accessible at the same time and interesting. And I don't know. That's part of my Dave Sim hero worship anyway.
I'm like, as you're talking about Liberty and Dave Sims, I'm like filling up my Amazon cart.
But yeah, so I don't know. So Tim, let's hear a little more from you on the book.
Yes, Darkness.
So it actually kind of hit home a little bit, right? Like, so I mean, my dad passed away in 2006. Mm-hmm. So it was, for me, it really kind of felt like he had a lot of stuff that was just kind of unsaid. Like, it was totally a book about, hey, I have this really bad habit, but at the same time, I just have a ton of stuff that is unsaid. Mm-hmm. And that was really the core of his issue. Is everything else is just a symptom.
Yep.
For me, that really kind of hit home, right? So so my dad passed away in 2006. It was totally what's left unsaid. Like, if you could go back in time and kind of say the things that you want to say, mm-hmm. especially when you're like in your so he was in his mid 40s. Mm-hmm. It was like, here's what I want to say at this point, and for me that was kind of like that actually made me think a little bit. It was kind of like, well, what would I actually say if I could go back and be like, you're gonna miss all this stuff.
Yep.
And so that. And
then what's also interesting on that level is we're picturing it. We're all pretty close to the same age, and to think the character in the story is there's a certain, I don't know Alex well enough to say a certain how autobiographical it is, but he is near the age of the character in the book. He's a little bit younger, actually, but I'm wondering, when, let's say, we get to that age, give us another 10 to 15 years, how else are we going to feel? What else would we, it makes me question, like, maybe we'll see things even more hindsight 2020, right, in another 10 years than we see them even now. And then it's like, man, I don't know. I mean,
we totally will. I mean, we're just starting to see high school in hindsight, right? It's like,
yep.
Well, I mean, not necessarily. I mean, it's been a couple of years since we started looking back on high school, but.
Well, and not even just and think of it like for
even just high school and college at this point.
Yeah, and for Kirby and myself, we both have children now, mm-hmm. and when our children are 10 or 15, how much am I going to look back and maybe regret the decisions I made or things that could have been said earlier to my son, right? Mm-hmm. And so that in some way gives me a certain reflection point also.
Yeah.
I mean, at what point do you just kind of accept that you say, you know what, I made the best decision mm-hmm. I could at that time? Mm-hmm.
And that's what you have to say a lot of times.
I mean, you really do. I mean,
and
there's a lot of stuff I wish I could have said, mm-hmm. but and there's a certain point where it's kind of like, I made the best decision at that time.
So, in the book, he goes back and he has to, as we've been talking about, has to basically end up talking to his father, right? And he didn't seem to even know that he had that certain level of regret until that point happens in the story, right? And speaking of that, I mean, regret plays an interesting point in the story, I think, for it being in this background. He even has also the thoughts about wanting to help his younger sister because of how her life turned out, and I just find that interesting. I'm a big advocate for the use of the emotion of regret as not only a plot point, but or a song point, or just I'm obsessed with the emotion itself. I find it really interesting and complex, and I hate when people say things like "you should never regret." I despise that saying.
Really?
Because to me, that's almost like saying you should never think about the past and reflect on it, and should never feel bad about things that you did. And I think people are thinking of the term regret to mean more than it really does. I mean, in the sense, it's just feeling bad for shit you did, right? I mean, and wishing almost that you could have done better. I mean, that's basically what I see it. And to say that you shouldn't regret means that you're thinking to me, it seems like you're thinking you're almost perfect, or like things are almost as good as they could be. Very, I don't know, like reading Voltaire, right? Like these are as good as they can be, reading Candide, right? And I don't know, it's just wonky to me, and I just find the whole premise of regret just very interesting, and I don't know, I just wanted to bring that up.
So it's almost like one of the big things that I got from the book as well too is it's the party, right? So he picked something that's very relatable to kind of say, okay, to kind of bring about that feeling as well too. Say, okay, hey, I actually kind of feel sorry, and then he went to go talk to his parent about it.
Mm-hmm. I hadn't even thought about the party much, actually. Other than...
I mean, it's an event that is very relatable for many folks that went through high school.
Yep.
Like, many folks went to a party. I mean, that's where they first, experienced a lot of things, and I think that was a key part of it.
I liked the way he changed the party for himself.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, I know, right?
But his friend was still, like, reluctant to... It's, like, you would think his like, I guess, sort of geeky friend would chill out and, like, be, I don't know, take his advice to heart or whatever, and he still ends up smoking.
Yeah.
It's the girls.
See, I always think of that. It reminds me of... Have you guys seen the movie Big Fish? Which is an amazing frickin' film, right? And he talks about how he wants to see the future, see when he dies from the witch's eye, right? And he says, I want to see what happens. I want to know, because everything else, it kind of can help you, right? If you know the future, because you know you're going to survive everything else, right? And so it kind of reminds me of that in that way, that he's like, you know what, now that he can hindsight that party, fuck it, dude, I know that it's going to be all right. Let's just party for once, not be so uptight, right?
Ask the girl out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of which, I'm gonna kind of like change the direction of it a little bit.
Sure.
This is gonna be a movie soon.
That's right.
And they were talking about how I was reading it on one of the blogs that if they could go back to the past, they'd go see Back to the Future. Because this, I guess, is taking place during that time.
Mm-hmm.
Back to the Future was out.
Yep.
And I was just thinking, like, how do you guys see this working as a movie?
So I've thought about that a lot, because I remember it was a big deal when it got optioned 2 years ago at Comic-Con. It was announced that it was optioned. I remember reading that, and this was just when this, like, right after the book kind of had come out and become big for a minute. And I remember thinking about it after I had read it, and thinking that it could work as a movie, but not in the form that it is now. I mean, I think that he would have to change some stuff in a certain way, mainly because of the emotional climax that we've talked about, the speaking with his father, right? Not only speaking, yelling, being angry at his father. Part of what makes that so great is the way the comic has made that tension, but at the same time, film can translate comics pretty well if done correctly. So, I don't know. I think it could work. I think it just depends on how it's adapted. It's either going to work or it's going to crash and burn. That's kind of the way I look at it.
That's most comic movies, though, right?
That's true. And I mean, anytime you're adapting something, pretty much. I mean,
has the director been announced?
I don't remember. I
I
remember.
don't think so. Yeah.
No, I remember hearing something a while back, but I don't think that there's been a director. I think I had heard something about a script or the guy writing the script. Let me see.
I was just looking at it. The latest news is like February 2nd, right?
Okay, that's the closest thing that I'm finding here.
Yeah.
It is in development with writers attached and everything. It says.
Executive producers Anthony Bregman and Daniel Brown.
There was something. I think one of those producers. Who did you? Where did you find that?
Top Shelf Productions.
Oh, I'm not finding that. Oh, there you go. That's what you're looking at. Okay, hold on. I found that page. Rocky Russo and Jeremy Sisensko to write the script. So we got some screenwriters apparently, and I think I remember looking these guys up, and there was one of them had done something that I was interested in, but now I can't remember. No. Well, neither of the scriptwriters have a Wikipedia page.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Wait. I mistyped one. Nope, they don't.
Oh, one of the producers produced Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless
Okay,
Mind.
that's awesome. That's an outstanding film.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Our Idiot Brother.
I have not seen that.
It's pretty good. I enjoyed it. Well.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think it could be a cool movie. I could see them like trying to bring in the whole Back to the Future thing, like.
In what sense?
Well, I mean, if you're gonna go and write a movie about a guy traveling back to the past to stop smoking, and it's set in like the 80s, and it's like the 80s are like back with a vengeance right now. I could see them like trying to like cash in on that sort of like feel.
Yeah.
In the same sense that Super 8 kind of cashed in on the Goonies feel.
I saw Super 8 more as cashing in on like the like the E.T. feel. It's kind of what I saw,
that
but yeah.
too. But I mean, like that one character, I can't remember his name, but he wore Chunk's yellow jacket,
It's awesome.
And so I mean, like, of course, it was probably going for both E.T.
Yeah, well, I always just thought it was going for the old Spielberg. It's kind of the way I looked at it, but.
Well, I mean, I could see them going, for the Back to the Future thing,
That could be. It's a completely different feel, though. I don't know.
Well, emotional.
And that's what I'm wondering is how do you do the emotional climax of Too Cool to Be Forgotten in a way like how do you? And that could be one of the interesting things about it. I mean, maybe the way that they transition, however they do the movie, maybe lighthearted overall, into the emotional climax. Maybe that's what'll make it interesting and great. I mean, I don't know. It just seems like.
I think I'm gonna have to go.
All right.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Okay. Yeah, my kid's up.
All right, you can cut out.
All right.
But that's okay. Tim and I will finish up the conversation. We'll catch you next time.
Okay, sorry to cut short.
No, you're fine.
Bye.
That's fine.
Yep. See you later. All right. So, let's see here. Hold on. Let me see if I can fix that. There we go. That kind of fixes it. All right. So, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, it could be a cool movie. It could also be a complete and horrible flaw. Oh, where'd you go? Whoa, what happened there?
Oh.
Oh, no, you're fine. I'll fix it. I will fix it.
So I think it really depends on the director. Like, I think that's really going to define a lot of what's going on.
That's true. And I don't know. I mean, it just depends. Yeah, it's one of those where it's like it depends on the way the story is told, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll just have to kind of wait and see. Let me bring you back up here in just a second. Oh, no. Dang it, that's not what I want. Add screen. There we go. Tim, you are back on screen. You have returned. There we go. All right. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, it depends on the director, depends on the script, and I think that I have the feeling that this is personal enough to Alex that he would kind of take control in a way, or have a certain level.
So you think the same thing though, right? But who was it? Frank. So the gentleman who did like the Sin City comics.
Yeah, Frank Miller.
Frank Miller. Like that was very personal as well too, right?
Yeah. But I mean, he helped direct the movie.
Yeah, I mean, it was okay. Like,
I liked the movie. I didn't like it the first couple times I saw it very much.
Right.
It grew on me though the more I've watched it.
But you had to watch it more than once.
That's true. Yeah.
So most folks, like, you get one shot.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely feel that you get one shot at impressing an audience.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that in the first, like, so I think Lord of the Rings, right? So Lord of the Rings was an amazing series.
Yep.
I mean, the books are amazing.
Yep.
But I think the movies themselves were amazing as well too, and they got one shot to get that right.
Mm-hmm. And that's part of, and in a way,
really did not get that.
What do you mean?
I think so. The Frank Miller movies, right?
Oh, you mean Sin City? Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. You were going back to. I thought you were still talking about Lord of the Rings, and I was confused. Okay.
Well, I used them as pretty much an example, though, right? Like I used them as the example. Hey, like they have one shot to get this right, and they nailed it.
Yep.
But you have Frank Miller, who's like, you have to kind of watch that a couple times, and you're just like, oh, you know, that makes more sense.
Mm-hmm. But on the same level, maybe his intention. I mean, the comics don't appeal to everybody either. They're not mainstream comic.
No.
And he wasn't necessarily out to be. He was out to tell the story he wanted to tell, not necessarily impress or blow people away.
That's true.
You know, and in that sense, that's part of, I think, what makes it interesting and good is that they didn't make the big budget Hollywood fancy special effects kind of. I mean, there was a lot of effects, but they weren't the highest end thing in the world, right? And I don't know. I personally think the movie is quite enjoyable, but I understand what you're going with it, but at the same time, I mean, sometimes what makes a movie great is that they didn't necessarily make it to impress or to appeal to the wider audience. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, that totally makes sense.
So, I don't know. I mean, it does. It all depends. I think that I think that if they do a movie, they're going to have to add some stuff. Because I don't think there's quite enough content just in what is here. That even if they shot the book 100%, I don't think it'd be long enough for a feature-length film. They'll have to I'm sure they'll have to move a little bit around. It's all going to depend on pacing and how they build up to the emotional center of the film.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are points. How do they reference the dad? Do they actually show him? I mean, do they take the mystery out? Some movies choose to do that when that's part of a plot point of a story anyway, you know? I don't know. I mean, could they make it work? I don't know.
I think they're going to kind of have to follow the book on that one. Like, I think they're going to have to show the dad at the end. Like, it's going to be the mystery up until that point.
Yeah. So, I don't know. That's about all I got. Do you have any last words on the book?
No.
No?
I think that's pretty much it.
It's awesome. That's about it.
It is. It was actually a very good book, right?
Yeah.
So it. I actually read the book after a lot of reflection. So I'd just gotten done scrambling down the side of a mountain, and I was like hanging out. Like I'd just woken up from a nap, and I was like done camping. Like we were camping at the time, and we'd been scrambling down to the falls and stuff like that. And then I read the book actually after when I was like napping and just kind of waking up from that. So there was lots of reflection. It was lots of, hey, I could have actually put myself in a lot of serious danger at this point. And so the entire book of looking back and saying, well, so here's what I would have done back in that situation was, very reflective.
Yeah. Yep. No, it's again, as we spoke of earlier, it's just such a good book for its ability to speak to almost anyone, in almost any situation. We all have, essentially, we all have regrets. We all have past that we wish we could go back and try and do things differently, or just there's even some stuff that you wish you could just go back and just live through again. Just to remember it better, just to experience. Maybe you weren't all there, like in the sense of the book, the father's death. He wasn't all there. Essentially, he didn't have the emotional core of it, and so it's not like again he had to change stuff or do things better. He just had to go back and feel, and be there in the sense. So that's what I found interesting. What I really love about it, and Alex is a awesome artist and a great storyteller overall. Check out his other books. He wrote, of course, the big Box Office Poison. I was trying to find my copy. Oh, it's over on the shelf back there. Box Office Poison, which is a good story. Tricked is actually quite great. Was another one of his big graphic novels, and he wrote one called this one cracks me up. I got to show you this because I got it like right here. Here it is. This is Alex Robinson's Lower Regions, it's called. And it's like it's just a little tiny book. And it's like about some crazy barbarian chick. And it's like, there's like no words. It's all just pantomime art. And it's just, I don't know. It's a fun little read. It's a fun little book to have in my collection. So really, really great cartoonist. And I hope that more people learn to appreciate him. So
yes,
that's about all I got on that.
Okay, well, so I think we're at the point now where we need to decide what we're going to read.
Oh man,
I know, right?
I know. Oh man. All right, so do we want to go something old or something newer? We should go with some. We've been reading kind of normal graphic novels. We should read something different, a little weirder, add a twist to it.
Okay. What are you thinking?
Either that or go with something more standard, like a character that has a lot of stories. Like either like a superhero or something like that.
Think I'm like Superman?
Well, not necessarily Superman. Actually, you know what? I got the book. I think I got the book. I think this is because I've been wanting to reread this anyway because I absolutely love it. All right. Do you remember I told you once I got an autographed poster by Terry Moore?
Yes.
Okay. Also autographed on there was a Matt Wagner, who's one of my favorite comic book artists. So we're going to go with a Matt Wagner story. And this is a character that, not just a character, one character in a long, epic storyline that he put together. This is one of the stories of one of the characters. And this is going to be Grendel, Behold the Devil. And I bought these when they came out, issue by issue, and then I had to buy the hardcover when it came out because I loved it, and I reread it, and I'm going to reread it again. But I want to read a Grendel story, because I love, and this is one of many, there's multiple Grendels. This is one of my favorite Grendels.
Okay.
So that's what we're going to, and the art is A+, at least in my opinion.
I'll have to trust your opinion on that.
Yeah. So I think that's what we'll go for. I will send it off to Kirby and to Kirbytron and let her know as well. So
send me a link to the Amazon.
I will do so. Cool. So that's about all. And I think we're going to wrap up this episode for this week or whenever we get back together to do another episode. And I want to thank you for joining us. Thank Amber, who's no longer with us right now. She had to take off. So we do this show about, so far we've been kind of just playing with it, doing it about once a month. So you can go on, I will throw up a splash screen, and there's a Facebook page you can like. There's the email. If you have any questions, comments, go ahead and email, and let us know what you think, any feedback, and we'll put together more episodes about comic books. Cool.
Hells yeah.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Have a good night. Well,
Good night.
we're done.
Yep. I'm off. We're offline.
Awesome. What do you think?
I liked it. That was a good
I
time.
think that was pretty good.
Yeah. I know I'm having some audio issues here.
You guys are getting in and out.
Yeah. Well, it's mostly the cutting in and out is from Skype itself, but I'm having audio issues from, I think, because the way I've had to move the rig around, I haven't gotten all my levels re-leveled for my mic and everything, so it's just gonna, if it sounds a little shitty, then oh well, it's gonna sound shitty this week, and
It is.
we'll fix it. So
We'll be fine.
yep. So cool. That's about all I got. Opinions? Anything?
It was a good time.
Yeah, I had a good time.
It was a good book.
Well, I'm glad you liked it.
I literally read this weekend. Not read this, but I read this weekend actually. So,
Grindel. Hold on, let me get you the link quickly.
yeah, I'll add it to my Amazon order.
There we go. It's like 7 issues long. It's not terribly long. Here you go. I just shipped you the link in Skype there. And I fell in love with this character from the moment I first read him, and I've since read almost the entire epic. He's put together so many different stories, and it's one of those where he literally he wrote part of a story, and then he went back and did a past part of the story, and then a few, and then mixed them, and it's really really cool, really interesting.
You know what the best part though is Amazon Prime.
Yep, that's right.
You know,
I fucking love my Amazon Prime, dude.
so do I.
I hate that I've already I've already used up all my Amazon.
Stuff.
No, no, my employee discount.
Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna. Do you know if I use Amber's employee discount, will it add it to my account? Do you know?
So it's just a discount code at that point.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
But I didn't know if it mattered or not because she doesn't use hers. She orders stuff from Amazon. She's like, oh, I just never put in. So I'm like, well, email me the discount code. I'll fucking use it, right? So
Yep.
I haven't tried it yet. She emailed it to me and I haven't put it in yet. So cool. All right. Well, that's all I got.
You were still on there. What?
What?
On the live stream?
Oh, I am. Wow.
You are.
How did what the? Oh, wow. What happened?
Oh.
Oh well, it doesn't really matter. But